This program is about home safety. After completing this lesson, you will be able to describe 3 behaviors that promote safety in the home, explain 2 ways to prevent fires, identify 3 hazards in the home environment which threaten children, and identify 1 safety concern for the elderly.
Falls, burns, cuts, electrical shock, poisonings. Indeed, there is no place like home for accidents and injuries. The home is filled with dangerous and deadly hazards. Each year, accidents in the home injure over 21 million people, disabling more than 4 million. Over 27,000 deaths result. Just the medical expenses and lost wages add up to $10 billion a year. And we cannot begin to calculate the physical and emotional toll in suffering, pain, anxiety, and grief. The saddest part of it all is that most of these injuries and deaths could be avoided. There are 2 key ingredients that combine to cause accidents in the home. The first is the hazards which are present in the home environment. These hazards become part of our lives until we no longer see them as dangerous. Water in the bathroom, prescription medications we keep on the shelves, even the furniture in our rooms and the way we arrange it. The second ingredient is human behavior. We're always in a hurry, always trying to find a shortcut, not paying attention to what we're doing. Put these 2 ingredients together, and the result can be deadly. It's our important role to promote safety in the home, and there are 2 simple ways we can do that. First, we must take action to eliminate or minimize the hazards present in the home environment. This means we must anticipate and identify what can be dangerous. Second, focus on behavior. We must exercise caution and develop safe habits, practicing and teaching safety behavior. In this program, we'll help you identify and deal with hazards in the home environment. Of course, it's impossible to identify every single hazard, but through this discussion, we can discover major elements of home safety. You'll become aware of potential hazards and how to remove or minimize their danger. Then we'll work on correcting unsafe behavior by presenting some common sense precautions. To accomplish this, we're going to look at 3 situations, all very typical of home life. At the beginning of each scene, we want you to test your own attitudes and perceptions about safety. You'll have 30 seconds to identify any hazards or perilous behavior you might see. After that, we'll study the scene together and discuss what you and the family can do to minimize hazards and raise your everyday safety awareness. So let's begin our tour in the kitchen, where dinner preparation is in progress. We'll see a teenager who's been asked to keep an eye on dinner while her mother runs an errand. Now, how many hazards and unsafe practices can you find? Ready? Begin. Okay, time's up. How did you do? After watching this scene, it should not surprise you to find out that statistically, the kitchen is the most dangerous room in the house. If you want to experience falls, burns, electrical shocks, cuts, or being poisoned, even burning down your house, believe me, the kitchen's the place to be. Let's take another look. There's a very strong likelihood of fires and burns in this kitchen. The splattering grease could start a fire on the burner. The frying pan handle extends out over the edge of the stove, so the phone cord could tip it over. Or our inattentive teen could bump the handle, dousing herself with hot grease. The spaghetti is boiling over and could cause a burn. The pot holder is too close to the burner, and this candle is dangerously close to the paper napkins. How could our young friend and her mother have done better? Well, if they had thought about it, or if they were in the habit of practicing common sense safety in their kitchen, I'm sure they would have used the back burners of the stove first. That way, they wouldn't have to reach over a hot burner to tend to another pan. They would use a smaller burner for the small pan with the appropriate level of heat. The high setting can cause problems. They would also have turned the handles of the pot in toward the stove, but not over another burner, so they could not be knocked over by someone walking by the stove. Cover frying meat so it doesn't spatter and burn someone or start a grease fire. That way, cleaning up is easier and less dangerous too. Tend to the cooking so you don't have pots boiling over. If you're called away from the kitchen, turn the burners off or down low before you leave. Always use pot holders for handling hot pots and pans. Keep them handy but safely away from the burners while you're cooking. If you burn a candle to eliminate cooking odors, do so cautiously. It should be a candle that is specially designed for that purpose. Above all, your attentiveness will keep you safe in a kitchen. Now that we've reduced the risk of fire and burns in the kitchen, let's consider the major electrical hazards. Using an octopus, our family has overloaded this outlet. Appliances connected together like this can cause enough heat inside the octopus to melt it and start a fire. If the connections are loose, dangerous electrical arcing may result. These appliances are plugged in even though they're not being used. If the appliance were to malfunction, it could start a fire when no one is around to notice it. Electrical plugs should make firm, solid connections with the wall outlet. If wall sockets don't hold firmly to the plug, the sockets should be replaced by a qualified electrician. Plan the use of your appliances. Unplug the ones not in use and plug in the ones you need. And don't expand a socket with many extra plugs. If you absolutely need more connections, get a permanent expander from the hardware store. These connections, unlike those when using an octopus, will be solid. Check appliance cords. Old cords sometimes become cracked or frayed, exposing the wires inside. Repair or replace these cords immediately. A local hardware store or appliance repair store can help you. If an appliance comes with a 3-prong plug, do not remove that grounding prong. Before we leave the general subject of fire safety, consider this. Fires in the home result in 70,000 people being hospitalized every year and 10,000 deaths. There's much more to fire prevention in the home than just safety in the kitchen. There should be a working smoke detector on each level of the home. Test them at least once a month. Have fire extinguishers in key places, such as the garage, the kitchen, the workshop, and near stairways. Regularly check for fire hazards around appliances, cords and wiring, where flammable liquids, newspapers, paint cans, and the like are stored, and especially around your wood-burning, coal, or portable heaters. And while you're at it, be sure you check for adequate ventilation where a portable kerosene heater will be used. Practice fire-safe behavior in other ways too. Never smoke in bed. Take the time to educate every member of the family in safe, smart fire prevention behavior. When the opportunity is there, don't hesitate to stop someone and tactfully point out the potential hazards they've created for someone else, especially when there are children or elderly people in the home. Besides these practices, you should establish a plan for safe exit of the home in case of fire. Plan the exits and routes you would use. Identify a safe place you would meet away from the home. And practice the escape plan with regular fire drills. Be sure to consider the special needs of a person in a wheelchair or one with limited ambulation or vision, and modify the escape plan accordingly. Fire prevention is everyone's business. Before we leave the kitchen, we must look at the risk for cuts, falls, and poisonings. Most of these are the result of human behavior. Our teenager is not paying attention to her surroundings. As she stretches to reach a container, she brushes dangerously close to the knives, which are thoughtlessly positioned in the dish drainer. She could sustain a nasty bruise colliding with the open door and drawers. The assorted clutter on the shelves could come tumbling down on her. And there's prescription medications mixed with the spices and seasonings in the cabinet. This could result in accidental poisoning or misuse of medications. To prevent falls and other injuries, you must pay attention to the task at hand. Our teenager cannot tend to the dinner while she is in the middle of an important call. Organize the contents in the cabinet. Avoid stretching or climbing on countertops or furniture to reach higher items. Use a secure step stool instead. Keep cupboard doors and drawers closed. Handle knives and sharp utensils carefully and separate them from other silverware or utensils for washing and drying and where they're stored. And store medications in their own separate place, away from food and spices, to prevent accidental poisoning. How did you do in the kitchen? Hopefully you now know what to look for and how to make the kitchen a safer place to be. Now let's move to the smallest room in the house, the bathroom. Are you ready to pick out the hazards? Okay, begin. Even though the bathroom is the smallest room in the house, it can be very dangerous, ranking second only to the kitchen. Every year, there are over 200,000 injuries that occur in this small room. Water and electricity could combine in 3 places in this bathroom to make a deadly combination. Running very late for an appointment, our victim-to-be is using an electric shaver while the bathtub is filling with water. The curling iron warming up sits precariously above the open toilet bowl. The portable space heater is dangerously close to the tub. Keep electricity and water as far apart as possible to remove the chance of electrical shock or even electrocution. Never use any electric appliances in the tub or shower. Be very careful when using shavers or curling irons in the bathroom that they are not near a sink full of water. Locate all switches and plugs where they cannot be reached from the bathtub or shower. Never touch electrical appliances when standing on a wet floor. And do not use a portable space heater in the bathroom. Besides electrical shock, there is a strong possibility that other injuries could result in this bathroom. It would be very easy to step on these carelessly discarded razors, which could lead to a serious fall as well as cuts. The drinking glass could fall and shatter. It's always safest to use plastic or paper cups in the bathroom. The rug does not have a rubber backing, so it's prone to shift around when stepped on. The combination of water and people often adds up to a fall. The shower curtain is outside the tub, so water could pool when someone takes a shower. The soap bar on the edge of the tub could slide onto the floor and result in a nasty fall. How can you prevent falls in the bathroom? Keep the shower curtain inside the tub so water will stay there too. Always return the soap to the soap dish. Use only rugs that will stay securely in place. And when you toss something into the waste container, watch it to be sure that it gets there. Again, safety here is often just a matter of paying attention to your surroundings. There are invisible dangers in the bathroom too. Pay attention to water temperature. Steam will tell you that the water is hot, perhaps hot enough to scald a child or older person whose skin is more sensitive and can burn easily. And never leave an infant or toddler alone in the tub or bathroom. Drowning can occur very quickly. Keeping the necessary bathroom items in order and properly using appliances greatly reduces the possibility of accidents and injuries. Now, if only our happy bather would allow more preparation time for important appointments. For our third scene, we'll visit the stairs. This should be an easy one for you. Over 6,000 people die each year as a result of falls in the home, many of these occurring while going up or down steps that are loaded with hazards. In this scene, there is simply too much clutter. In the wrong place at the wrong time, these ordinarily harmless household articles, including the family pet, become obstacles, booby traps, which may cause people to fall. Then there is the most unpredictable element in the safety equation: human behavior. This person loves to wear loose-fitting slippers. She could easily step partially out of one and trip herself or have her foot slide out from under her. And she's not being very smart, attempting to navigate around the dog and all these other obstacles when her vision is obstructed by too many boxes. To prevent falls, be sure stairways and traffic paths are clear. Wear proper footwear with non-slip soles. Be sure there is adequate lighting and that vision is unobstructed. Check that stairway treads are in good condition and that carpeting is well anchored. Prevention of falls takes clear pathways, common sense, and once again, attentive behavior. So far, we've looked at 3 dangerous settings which could probably be found in your home or mine. When you're home, regularly check every room, looking for hazards and potential accidents. We've also identified some fairly dangerous behavior and some common sense alternatives. Remember to practice them and to follow through on opportunities to teach safe behavior. Now that you've had the chance to identify some hazards, these review questions should be easy. What is the most dangerous room in the home? Why? Can you identify 2 important locations where a fire extinguisher should be available? What are 2 common electrical hazards that often contribute to home fires? What are 3 things you can do to prevent accidents in the bathroom? In maintaining a home, what's the best thing you can do to prevent falls? Behaviorally, what is the most important thing you can do to prevent accidents? We have focused on the home environment and behavior, but there are 2 special groups of the population which merit extra attention: the young and the old. The normal patterns of growth and development put infants, toddlers, and small children at special risk. Andy and Emily are very normal, happy children. Andy, at the age of 4, is into investigation and discovery, wandering all over and exploring. 9-month-old Emily explores her world through touch and taste, checking out everything with her mouth. Look at this scene. While visiting some friends, Andy discovered a cache of new cans and bottles in a cabinet, and he's sharing them with his sister. This normal behavior means considerable risk and danger when there are hazards in the environment or children unsupervised. And there are some very blatant dangers for these children. Unfortunately, this family stored chemicals and cleaning supplies in the wrong place. This cabinet was not locked or child-proofed in any way, which could result in accidental poisoning. Even if you don't think of a product as poisonous, it could be for a child. Children have fewer defenses against pollutants and poisons. Their skin is thinner, so it gets burned or irritated more easily. Their immature immune, liver, and kidney systems may not be able to get rid of harmful substances as effectively as adult organs. According to the American Association of Poison Control Centers, an estimated 5 million children were the victims of accidental poisonings in 1989. 2 of every 3 were under the age of 5. Remember, small children are curious and may taste things, especially if the materials are colorful, smell nice, or come in attractive containers. To prevent accidental poisoning, we must eliminate any potential hazards. Lock or child-proof the cabinet. Better yet, store cleaning supplies, ammonia, bleach, insecticides and pesticides, paint thinners and supplies, kerosene, gasoline, and other hazardous substances and chemicals on a high shelf or in a place where children cannot get to them. Never put anything on the food shelves but food. Keep medications, both prescription and over-the-counter, locked away. Don't leave pills in a pocket, purse, or on the bedside table where children can find them. And never tell a child that medication is candy or tastes like candy. Unfortunately, there are more dangers in this scene, The beautiful green plant is one of many which can be poisonous if eaten. Don't put children at risk for the sake of decor. Remove the plant. Teach children not to eat strange berries, leaves, fruits, or parts of plants. Other sources of poisoning and injury which you cannot see are in the purse. It contains makeup and maybe even medication. There may be a comb or pen, sharp items which could result in an injury if the child plays with it. Keep the purse safely away from children. What about the keys in the purse? The outlet is unprotected. Electrical shock could result if a child inserts a key into the outlet. Cover unused wall outlets with protective plates, adhesive tape, or blank plugs. Matches and children spell fire. Get rid of the matches, and the glass could shatter and cut the children. Use plastic or paper cups. There is another one of those invisible hazards in this scene too: lead. Consider this. Each year, 14% of children ages 5 months to 5 years in the United States show evidence of excessive lead levels in their blood. Over 2,000 children die each year, and many more are left with neurological handicaps, mental deficiencies, and/or behavioral problems that will affect them throughout their lifetimes. You're probably wondering how you could have missed the peeling paint in our scene. That's because there aren't any paint chips here. But there are other sources of lead: the cigarette ashes and the colored inks used in the playing cards. Because any child can be at risk for lead poisoning, we must know how to prevent it. That prevention starts with identifying sources of lead in the home environment and getting rid of them. Of course, the most dangerous source is lead paint, but never assume that everyone knows this. Lead paint can be found on furniture, windowsills, household fixtures, and in plaster covered with lead-based paint. One paint chip contains more lead than is considered healthy, but a child does not need to ingest the lead paint to suffer its consequences. Dust created by opening and closing windows coated with lead paint can settle on everything in the home. The Consumer Product Safety Commission banned lead from paint used in toys, children's furniture, and home interiors in 1977. However, the problem of lead poisoning can continue if the deeper layers of the paint or plaster are contaminated with lead even after painting over with lead-free paint. Other sources of lead include acidic juices or foods which have been stored in earthenware pottery made with lead glaze, colored inks used in newspapers, magazines, matches, food wrappers, and children's books, water from lead pipes, fruit covered with insecticide, and dirt containing lead from automobile exhaust. Here are some things you can do to prevent lead poisoning. Check everything you buy which could be a possible source of lead to be sure that it is not decorated or finished with paint or ink containing lead. If you have an older house, have paint samples analyzed for lead content. If the paint does contain lead, consult an expert on the best way to deal with it. Repainting may not solve the problem. If the home is being remodeled, remove the children from the home environment during the entire process. The presence of dust contaminated with lead poses a continuous risk. If you suspect a child has been eating paint chips or has come into contact with lead, have the child tested and treated if necessary. Contact the experts in your community to learn more about lead poisoning prevention and treatment. You've seen that accidents and injuries in the home result from combining hazards in the environment and human behavior. With children, we cannot change their curious exploratory behavior because this is part of their growth and development. So after removing hazards, we must concentrate on providing attention and supervision. Children left alone can get into trouble. Pay attention to them. If you regularly care for infants, toddlers, or small children, take the time to learn about their growth and development, what behaviors are expected at a certain age, and the risks that accompany that behavior. With this understanding, you'll be able to prevent problems before they begin. Now, if children are at greater risk of injury because of their development, the same must be said of the elderly. The dangers faced by the elderly often go hand in hand with normal aging. Problems such as the drop in blood pressure when standing, failing eyesight, slowed reaction time, and decreased strength and coordination. Compound this with the effects of disease such as dementia or dizziness, and you begin to understand why the home can be a very dangerous place for the elderly person. Falling is a major problem. 1 of every 3 people over age 70 takes a tumble in the home every year. When an elderly person falls, he or she runs the risk of sustaining a serious injury or even death. Repeated falls by a previously independent elderly person contribute to 40% of nursing home admissions. And the older the person, the more likely the chances of death because of the fall or its complications. Falls in those over 70 account for 3 times as many accidental deaths as car accidents. With the effects of disease and aging, is there anything you can do to protect an elderly person? Start by analyzing the immediate surroundings at home. Pay attention to the traffic pattern and furniture layout. Be sure there are no obstacles in the way. Position furniture so sharp edges do not protrude. Be sure rugs are secure and smooth. Avoid throw rugs. Use only non-slip floor wax. Provide adequate lighting. Have the elderly person avoid loose flowing garments which could catch on doorknobs or furniture, resulting in a trip or fall. The person should wear glasses if required and proper footwear. If the person uses an assistive device such as a cane or a walker, be sure that it is properly maintained. Inspect the rubber tips on the ends of canes to be sure that they're not worn down or torn. And to counter some of the normal physiological deterioration, assist the elderly person to participate in an exercise program. This will increase flexibility and muscle strength while improving coordination. Encourage the person to move slowly when changing positions and to take the time necessary to move about safely. And report any changes you observe in the person's mental status, activity level, and ambulation, and your concerns about their safety. Plan ahead for individual situations. If the elderly person must get up in the night, provide adequate lighting to prevent groping in the dark. If the person experiences frequency and urgency of urination, perhaps a bedside commode might be the perfect solution. There is also a variety of adaptive and assistive devices which can promote the safety and improve the functioning of the person with limited mobility, low energy, and disabilities. The seat lift chair is designed for people with limited mobility who need assistance to get in and out of a chair. This chair assists the person to a standing position, minimizing the possibility of injury or overexertion. Place the seat lift chair in the room where the person spends the most time. Marie will demonstrate the use of the chair as we explain. She is wearing shoes with non-skid soles. To stand from the chair, she uses a push-button hand control. She pushes the up button, stopping as necessary to adjust her position and gain flexibility. She places her feet firmly on the ground before reaching a full standing position. If the person uses a cane or walker, make sure it's within reach. There are also several aids that can be used in the bathroom. A raised toilet seat, with or without safety rails, increases the height of the toilet from the floor, making it easier for the person to sit down and get up. The medical equipment consultant can determine the best height for the individual. Then the raised toilet seat must be securely clamped and locked into place, so the seat will not move or become dislodged. Grab bars are helpful for the person who needs assistance to get in or out of the tub or shower. The grab bars are strong and secure, eliminating the need for the person to grab onto the towel bars or sink. Grab bars should be permanently installed on the wooden studs in walls around the shower or tub area. A bathtub security rail securely clamps onto the side of the tub without obstructing the path into and out of the tub. The rail will not mar or scratch the tub surface. A transfer bench provides a safe, easy way to transfer a person into the tub from a wheelchair. There are also bath chairs and benches which can be placed into the tub or shower to assist the person who fatigues easily. A hand-grip shower head makes bathing an easier task. Consult your medical equipment dealer about the use of adaptive or assistive devices. It's important to follow the manufacturer's instructions and any instructions from the medical equipment company. Properly mount and install the equipment and test it before use. Regularly check the equipment for loose clamps, screws, or limitations of movement. Do not use any equipment that has loose connections or is not secured in place. And we have just a moment to mention some other areas of concern which exist in the home. If a person is on oxygen, you must implement special precautions. Be sure you understand them. Other considerations arise when caring for a person who experiences seizures, who is confused, has visual or hearing limitations, or balance and coordination problems. Be sure that you identify the risk in each individual situation and implement action to minimize or eliminate these risks. And then practice and teach safety common sense. These review questions will check your knowledge of special safety concerns in the home. How many domestic sources of lead can you name? What are some actions you can take to prevent lead poisoning? What's the most important thing you can do to protect children from accidents? Why are the elderly especially susceptible to falling? Can you describe some adaptive devices and their uses? In this program, we've looked at 3 rooms. You can probably find similar settings in your home, the house of your neighbor, or someone you care for. We've also looked at some special concerns in home safety, the elderly, children, and ways to meet special needs. Throughout our discussion, we've identified ways to minimize or eliminate risk and to modify behavior. Now, it's up to you. You must do everything you can to eliminate or reduce hazards within the home environment. You must also remember it's not always possible to distinguish between a physical hazard and a hazardous behavior. We create dangers for ourselves. Recall the pot holder that was too close to the burner on the kitchen stove, or the candle burning next to the napkins while our teen was talking on the phone. When our minds are on something else, we generally don't think through the consequences of our actions. The most reliable prevention technique is to anticipate, to think ahead and learn to see how ordinary objects, most of them entirely harmless by themselves, like the family dog, can interact with an unsuspecting person to cause what we call an accident. Pay attention to hazards. Start practicing safe behavior. After all, there's no place like home, only when it's safe.